You look in the mirror, and something feels off. Not dramatically, not devastatingly, just quietly, persistently off. And you cannot put your finger on it. But I can. Let's fix your haircut together. Because your bone structure deserves a frame that actually works for it. I research worst style and beauty mistakes and youth-boosting fixes for mature women. So you get simple, proven transformations that work instantly. Today we're perfecting 5 haircuts that make older women look younger after 50. And by part 3, you'll want to pause and look in the mirror. I mean it. We're covering the cuts that lift your face, soften your jaw, add volume without drama, and give you that effortless polished look you've been searching for. Part 2 alone could change your next salon appointment forever. Subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path so you never miss a transformation like this. And the very first cut? It's been hiding in plain sight for decades. Let's go. 1. The soft layered bob. You have probably walked past a woman at some point, maybe at a restaurant, maybe in a waiting room, and thought, her hair just works. You could not explain why. It was not dramatic or expensive looking. It simply framed her face in a way that made everything look lifted, bright, and quietly elegant. That cut almost certainly had one thing in common with every great mature haircut. Soft layers. Here is the truth that most stylists forget to tell you. As we move into our 50s and beyond, the face naturally loses some of its forward projection. The cheekbones settle slightly. The jawline softens. A blunt, heavy cut with no movement makes all of that more visible, not less. But a soft layered bob works with your face's natural evolution instead of fighting it. The soft layered bob sits somewhere between the chin and the collarbone, and that length is not accidental. It is the sweet spot where the cut can simultaneously soften the jaw, elongate the neck, and create just enough visual interest around the face to draw the eye upward. That upward pull is everything after 50. It is the difference between looking tired and looking timeless. Honestly, this is the cut I wish someone had sat me down and explained years ago, because the difference between a layered bob and a blunt one is not subtle. It is the difference between looking like yourself and looking like the best version of yourself. The mistake most women make is asking for just a trim, when what they actually need is a reshape. If your bob has not been layered in more than 2 cuts, you are carrying dead weight, literally. Heavy, unlayered ends pull the face down. They drag the whole silhouette toward the floor. Swap the blunt all-one-length cut for a soft layered version, and watch what happens to your cheekbones. Your maintenance tip for this cut. Ask your stylist to refresh the layers every 6 to 8 weeks, not just trim the ends. The shape lives in those layers. Without upkeep, the movement disappears and the weight creeps back. You deserve a cut that works every single day, not just the week after you leave the salon. This is the one that made a client of mine stop mid-conversation with her daughter and ask what changed. Nothing changed except the layering. And that was everything. Up next, part 2 covers the cut that does something almost miraculous for fine, thinning hair after 50. And if that is something you have been quietly worrying about, you will not want to skip it. 2. The textured Pixie with soft crown volume. Have you ever noticed how some women with short hair look completely free? Like their hair is working for them instead of the other way around? And then you have seen the opposite. A short cut that looks helmet-like, flat on top, and somehow aging in a way that is hard to define. The difference between those two outcomes is almost always texture. The textured Pixie with soft crown volume is one of the most underutilized cuts for women dealing with fine or thinning hair after 50. Most women shy away from it because they associate short with severe. But a well-executed textured Pixie is the opposite of severe. It is soft, lived-in, and surprisingly feminine. Here is the key insight. When hair is fine or has lost density with age, length often becomes the enemy. Long hair on fine strands pulls itself flat. There is simply not enough weight distribution to maintain volume across a longer cut. But a textured Pixie removes that problem entirely. The shorter length means every strand contributes to the shape. And with the right texturizing technique, the crown actually builds height, natural, flattering height that opens up the entire face. This is what ages you with fine hair, trying to keep length to compensate for thinning. The longer the hair, the more the thinning becomes visible. Yes, that's simple. What you want to swap is the limp, Grown-out pixie with no defined shape for a freshly textured version where the crown has deliberate volume, and the sides are soft and tapered rather than blunt. That taper at the side and back is what keeps this cut from looking harsh. It is what gives it elegance. There is one detail your stylist needs to hear. Ask specifically for point cut texturizing at the crown, not just thinning shears throughout. Point cutting creates separation and movement. Thinning shears can remove density without creating shape. The distinction matters enormously for how this cut behaves day to day. Your maintenance tip. This cut needs a trim every 5 to 6 weeks to hold its shape. The beauty of it is that each appointment is quick. You are in and out in 30 minutes, and your hair looks intentional every single day between visits. This is the cut that your bone structure has been waiting for. When the hair lifts at the crown, your eyes become the focal point of your entire face. And those beautiful eyes deserve to be the first thing anyone notices. Part 3 is coming for the women who love their length and refuse to give it up. And I am going to show you exactly how to make long hair work magnificently after 50. 3. The long layered cut with face framing pieces. Let me be direct with you. If a stylist, a magazine, or a well-meaning friend has ever told you that long hair is not appropriate after 50, they were wrong. Not kind of wrong. Completely wrong. Long hair can be breathtaking on a mature woman, but only when it has the right architecture. And most long haircuts on women over 50 are missing exactly that. The problem is not the length. The problem is the absence of face framing layers and internal movement. Without them, long hair on a mature face becomes a curtain. It hides the jaw, yes, but it also hides the cheekbones, the eyes, and everything that makes your face distinctive. That curtain effect is what makes long hair look aging rather than elegant. The long layered cut with face framing pieces solves this completely. The face framing layers are the heart of it. These are intentional longer pieces cut to fall just beside the cheekbones and jawline, directing the eye straight to the center of your face. Think of them as a soft parenthesis around your best features. They do not shorten the overall length. They simply add purpose to it. And here is the detail that changes everything. There is one placement decision your colorist and stylist need to discuss together before your next appointment. The face framing pieces work twice as hard when they carry a slightly lighter tone than the rest of the hair, just a shade or two, because that contrast is what makes the eye travel upward toward your face instead of downward toward your ends. What you want to swap. If you are currently wearing your long hair in one uniform length with no layers, swap it for a long layered cut where the shortest layers begin around the collarbone. That starting point is important. Too short and the layers interrupt the elegance of the length. At the collarbone, they create movement without disrupting flow. Your maintenance tip. Face framing pieces grow out faster than the rest of the cut because they are shorter. Ask your stylist to refresh specifically those pieces at your 6-week appointment, even if the overall length does not need a trim yet. The frame is what carries the whole look. Honestly, the long layered cut on the right woman over 50 is one of the most striking things I have ever seen. When your natural elegance has a frame that actually fits it, people notice. Part 4 is the one that surprises most women, because the cut we're covering next works specifically for round and square face shapes, and it does something to the jawline that feels almost surgical. Do not miss it. 4. The angled lob for round and square face shapes. Some face shapes need a cut that works harder than others. And if you have a rounder jaw or a stronger square bone structure, you already know what I mean because you have probably tried cuts that felt fine in the salon and somehow heavy by the time you got home. That heaviness is not your face's fault. It is the cut's fault. The angled lob, a long bob where the back sits slightly shorter than the front, is one of the most cleverly engineered cuts in the stylist's toolkit. And it is criminally underused on mature women. Here is why it works. The angle creates a visual diagonal line that runs from the back of the head toward the chin. That diagonal is the opposite of a round shape. It interrupts roundness. It introduces the illusion of length in a face that might otherwise read as wide. For square face shapes specifically, the angled lob does something even more specific. The longer front pieces that fall toward the jaw soften the corners of the face. They draw the eye toward the center, toward the lips, the cheekbones, the eyes, instead of toward the angles at the sides. This is what ages a square face. Cuts that end bluntly right at the widest point of the jaw, underlining it. The angled lob ends below and in front of it instead. That shift is everything. This one is everything. Truly. What you want to swap. If you are currently wearing a blunt lob with ends that land at the same length all the way around, swap it for an angled version where the back is graduated 1 to 2 inches shorter than the front. You do not need a dramatic difference. Even a subtle angle completely changes how the cut reads from the front. Here is the detail most stylists skip. The angle needs to be set against a slight internal graduation, meaning the underneath layers are slightly shorter than the surface layers. That internal graduation is what gives the cut its lift and prevents the ends from going limp halfway through the day. Without it, an angled lob just looks like an uneven haircut. With it, it looks intentional and polished. Your maintenance tip. Ask your stylist to check the internal graduation at every appointment, not just the surface angle. The shape lives in that internal structure. When it grows out without attention, the whole logic of the cut collapses. The angled lob has a specific relationship with your natural elegance. It creates the visual impression of a longer, more defined neck. And that is something your natural elegance has always deserved to show. Part 5 is the last one and arguably the most powerful, because it covers the cut that addresses volume loss at the crown directly. And for many women over 50, that crown is the one thing they wish they could fix overnight. 5. The layered shag with root volume. This one requires a moment of honesty. The layered shag has had a reputation problem. For years it was associated with messy, bohemian, youthful looks, and most mature women wrote it off without a second glance. That was a mistake. Because when a layered shag is executed correctly for a woman over 50, it becomes one of the most volumizing, facelifting, crown-transforming cuts available. Full stop. Here is the key insight. The layered shag works from the root outward. Unlike a standard layered cut where the layers add movement at the ends, a well-executed shag builds volume at the root first. That means crown flatness, which is one of the most common complaints from women after 50, is addressed at the structural level, not just patched with products. The reason a flat crown ages you is not just aesthetic. It changes the proportions of your whole face. When the crown sits low and flat, the heaviness of the lower face becomes more visible. The jawline reads wider. The forehead looks smaller. Everything feels bottom-heavy. But lift the crown by even an inch of structural volume, and suddenly the proportions reverse. The eyes lead. The cheekbones follow. The jaw recedes naturally into the background. Honestly, I have seen this cut take a full decade off a woman's appearance in one appointment. Not with surgery. Not with filler. Just with the right layering structure starting at the root. What you want to swap. If you are currently asking your stylist for layers, without specifying root lift, you are getting movement without volume. Those are not the same thing. Ask specifically for short root layers. Layers that begin very close to the scalp at the crown, combined with longer layers through the mid-lengths and ends. That combination is what creates the shag's signature lifted shape. There is one styling technique that makes this cut perform at its absolute best. Dry it upside down for the first 60 seconds with a diffuser on low heat. That single step, inverted drying at the root, activates the natural lift the layering creates. It is not about products. It is about working with the cut's architecture rather than against it. Your maintenance tip. The layered shag needs its root layers refreshed every 6 to 7 weeks. When those short layers grow out, the crown volume disappears, and that is when the cut stops working. Keep the structure maintained, and this cut will be the most consistently rewarding thing you have done for your appearance in years. Those beautiful eyes of yours lead a face that deserves a crown. And this cut gives you exactly that. You just learned 5 cuts. The soft layered bob, the textured pixie, the long layered cut, the angled lob, and the layered shag, that most women spend years trying to find through trial and error and disappointment. Boom. Your bone structure was always this stunning. Now it shows. Drop a comment and tell me, which of these 5 cuts are you most excited to try, and which one did you not see coming? I read every single one. Next time, we are getting into the color mistake that adds years to even the most perfect haircut, and once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I will see you in the next one.